Hi, it's me, Vicki Marie, and welcome to my channel. If it's the first time you're here, thank you for watching. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Okay, so the first thing I want to say before I start saying hello to people is I want to thank Ruth. It says Gary Denton, but in fact it's Ruth, who has become a member. Thank you so much, and not only to Ruth but to all my members. I just want to show you this, which I wish I could work out how to just put it up automatically, which I can't. But this is what I want to say to all of you. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Thank you for being a member of my channel. Okay, I've got to try and work out how to do that bit more automatically. Okay, let's have a little look at all of you who's here. Say hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to be here with me. Ooh. Okay, Chumba. Hi, Chumba. Hi, Ruth. If you're here, I mean, you've come up because you became a new member at 2 p.m. Hi, 411. Hi, Princess. Hi, Desi. Hi, Rio. I hope you've your notification works. Hi, David. Hi, Shelley. Have you got your cup of tea now? You're so good getting a cup of tea. I suppose it's afternoon where you are, so really maybe it's too early to have something else. I feel like my screen's shaking. Why is it shaking? Could be because of the fan. There's a fan behind it that might be making it shake. So yeah, hope you've got your cup of tea now. And you're feeling tired today. You can't get yourself pulled together. Oh, going down here now. Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Vicky. The other Vicky, DMV. Oh, I know. Tina. Hi, Tina. Hi, Rio. You made it. Okay, good. The gang's all here. The gang's all here. Okay, so talking of memberships, I've got a little bit of news about memberships at the end of the video. I'm going to tell you something, so a little bit of news about memberships. But, so, this case that we're here to talk about tonight. Oh, this is one that really resonates with me because it is a stalking case. This is a tale of stalking, really. But not only that, it's a case that tells us just when somebody is obsessed, how long that obsession can go on for. Because this poor woman that was murdered basically by an obsessive ex, it wasn't an ex from last week, or they didn't finish last month, not even last year. 10 years ago, their relationship finished. And 10 years, well, I say 10 years ago, 10 years before, he actually ended up, killing her through his obsession. 10 years went past. So it just goes to show, I think it's still wobbling mine. What is it? I know where it is. It's the webcam. It's the webcam. There you go. 10 years. You'd think that they'd have got over it by then, wouldn't you? So, it's a long time. The other thing that sort of made me angry about, I mean, apart from just the fact somebody being murdered, which obviously makes you angry, is... Oh, thank you, Jackie. I'm in the makeup mood tonight. Sometimes I feel like putting on makeup. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes people say, oh, don't put any makeup on. It looks better if you don't. I don't wear makeup for other people. No offense to anyone. I love makeup. So sometimes I just feel like putting it on and sometimes I don't. And tonight I just felt like putting on makeup. And you know what? I think it was through seeing the photos of this beautiful woman. So this is the other thing that makes me angry. Is it dangerous then to be beautiful? You know, so we've watched a lot of cases lately. You know, we still don't know exactly what happened to Rachel Marin. She put a lot of attention into her appearance. She got a lot of criticism for that. Like, you know, because she'd obviously had some cosmetic surgery. As if there was something wrong with that. Why shouldn't she do that? You know, it's her money, her body, her face. She wants to do things to it to make herself look nice in her eyes, not for anybody else. I mean, I don't agree in doing things for other people, and you know, but if that made her feel good, why shouldn't she do that? You know, so there's a lot of victim blaming in that sense. You know, of, oh, you know, fancy going out dressed like that, or fancy, you know, why were they so obsessed with their appearance? You know, why not? Why not? Man or woman, you know, if they want to do that, let them do it. And if they don't want to do it, let them not do it. You know, at the end of the day, we're not here to please other people. We're here to please ourselves. Oh, thank you, Shelley. I agree, Vicky. You know, there's a lot of victim blaming, isn't there? You'll find it in this case. So let's have a look at. So this lady that we're going to talk about tonight, Amie Harwick. Harwick, and she. One of my subscribers quite a long time ago mentioned this case to me, probably when I say quite a long time ago, maybe 5 months ago, you know, it was all going on with Nicola Bulley, and I didn't really have a chance to look at it. And it's come more into the forefront because the trial has started of the man who is, now we have to remember, he's not been found guilty yet, though he has admitted to so much. He's admitted to so much, usual thing. He didn't kill her. He did all the other things that he did, but he didn't. He's not responsible for her actual death. Anyway, let's have a look at her first. So her name is Amie. She is a very beautiful woman. And this what sort of makes me think, you know, what is it? Are you not allowed to be beautiful? Are you not allowed to look nice? You know, is it like, are you, you know, just asking for someone to murder you? You know, if you sort of make the best of yourself and you look nice, and also why she's been victim blamed is her career, because well, she's an ex-Playboy model. She was a Playboy model, and she then became. She went to university and studied, and she became a sex therapist. So there's been a lot of sort of sniffiness about that, you know, because she's a sex therapist, like it's not a proper job. Like people, like sex is not the most normal thing in the world, apart from life and death itself, from birth or death. What's the most natural thing in the world is sex, isn't it? And everybody's like, sniffy about it or prudish about it, or as if, you know, you shouldn't enjoy it or you shouldn't talk about it, or, you know, I think it's childish personally. You know, at the end of the day, she was a sex therapist, and, you know, some people need a sex therapist for whatever reason, and all this being sniffy about it, that makes me even more annoyed. So as you can see, she's a very, very, very beautiful woman. And this is what, you know, I think, well, what is it dangerous to be beautiful? Is it just dangerous to be a woman? Because obviously not only beautiful women get killed by stalkers and etc., and men get killed by stalkers. So, but sometimes it is more dangerous to be a woman. It just is. And is it even more dangerous if you're a strong woman, an independent woman, an attractive woman in a career like she was in? You know, is that even worse? Does that encourage people to sort of put you down? You know, it's like as if you've got to be this sort of Mother Teresa, you know, to get any sympathy. Like, it's as if, you know, if it was a man who was a sex, you know, if it was Dr. Phil or whatever, you know, it wouldn't be such a big thing. It's all this sniffiness about it. I don't know. Anyway, so let me just tell you a little bit about Amie. So she was born on May the 20th. Oh gosh, I haven't got the actual date of it, but she was 40 years old when she died. So she was murdered on February the 15th in 2020. That's made me annoyed that I haven't written down the actual date that she was, year she was born. 1981. 1981. So she was 39. So she was just a year short of her 40th birthday when she was murdered. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting was it happened on February the 15th, which is the day after Valentine's Day, of course. And it always amazes, and I always say I'm going to do it, and I am going to do it one day, is look into, it seems like a lot of these events happen around about significant dates: Christmas, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, Super Bowl Sunday. I don't know, whenever there's a big event, there always seems to, I suppose, this heightened tensions, isn't there? You know, at holiday times when people are supposed to be, you know, playing happy families, etc. But so many cases that I've looked at, you know, they've been around the significant dates. And unfortunately for Amie, this happened to her because it was February the 15th. That she was found dead. But anyway, so she was born on May the 20th, 1981. She was adopted, but she seems to have had a very happy sort of family life. She became a Playboy model. Then she decided, when she finished that, she became and she did that. She worked as a Playboy model. A lot of students, of course, do these, not necessarily a Playboy model, but they do these, oh God, what's that site called, OnlyFans and things like that. So she worked as a Playboy model and a dance performer to pay for her education. And she went and studied psychology at California State Polytechnic because she was brought up in California or around that area. And she later became a licensed marriage and family therapist. And she was well known. She was famous. And she specialised in family and sex counselling. She's written books. She had a YouTube channel. And at the time of her death, she'd started working with Pineapple Support. That's why on these photos, there's a photo of her with 2 pineapples, I think, somewhere. Let's see, I saw it somewhere earlier when I was looking. Because this pineapple place, what they do is they support people who work in the adult sex industry, because there's a high rate of suicide in the sex industry, you know, pornographic actors, etc. You know, there's a very, very high rate of suicide. So she worked with these people, help them, you know, counsel them, etc. Because they, you know, it's a very strange thing, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, it's you know, people look at pornography. I mean, there's all different types of pornography, obviously, and some of it is, and I'm not necessarily against it as long as it's not exploitative or violent, you know, or children or anything like that. But, and the people that work in that, you know, they need support just like anyone needs support. It must be quite a strange job at the end of the day. But anyway, that's what they're doing. People all over the world watch it. So they might be all sniffy about people who work in it, but they're all watching it. And if they didn't watch it, then people wouldn't work in it. So, you know, it's just one of those things. As I say, apart from birth and death, sex is the most natural thing in the world. So, Princess has gone to bed. She's got a headache. Oh, bless. I hope she feels better tomorrow. Okay. Now, so let's just go back to her. So, the guy that is accused of killing her, she went out with him 10 years ago. I'm going to talk about him in a minute. First of all, I want to talk about the guy that she was with more or less up to her death. I mean, they split up, I think it was a year before. And this guy, he's a famous guy. He's on the TV in America. The Price is Right. He's the host of The Price is Right in America. And let me see if I can find out a little bit more about him. Anyway, to be honest, I've got a video here that I want to show you. And he described her, his name is, gosh, what's his first name? I've got Carey here. Drew Carey, his name is, Drew Carey. And he was the presenter, he still is the presenter on The Price is Right. He's been the presenter for about 17 years. He's quite a bit older than her. This is him here in the middle. If you Oh, I think I've turned up. You're going to see him in a minute anyway, talking. And he described her. He said that she was a positive force in the world and an unapologetic champion of women. And he really loved her, and they had a lovely relationship. But I think he's quite a bit older than her, looking at it. But the other thing is, when he started going out with her, because he's famous and because of what she did, the job that she did, there was a lot of criticism of him, criticism of her. Hi, Mark James. So let's have a look at Drew Carey. So this was her fiance, and he's made this is an interview with him. But he was her most recent relationship. And a couple of days before she died, she actually reached out to him. They hadn't spoken for a while. Not that they finished in an acrimonious way. It was a very amicable split. But she'd reached out to him, texted him. But he's going to tell us the story now. So let's listen to what he had.
I'm glad I could get that message to her before she died. And Aaron Moriarty joins us now. Aaron, good morning. Drew Carey has not said much about this. Why do you think he's speaking now?
Well, I mean...
hang on. Let me just go. I need to go back to the...
This week's 48 Hours investigates the suspicious death of Amie Harwick, the Hollywood therapist and former fiancée of Drew Carey, host of The Price is Right here on CBS. Police found Harwick unresponsive at her home the morning after Valentine's Day back in 2020. Her suspected killer is ex-boyfriend Gareth Pursehouse, who's been charged with her murder. He has pled not guilty. Drew Carey spoke with 48 Hours correspondent Aaron Moriarty in his first extensive TV interview about Harwick's death.
In the hours just after Valentine's Day in 2020, Drew Carey's former fiancée, Amie Harwick, a Hollywood therapist, lost her life.
Obviously really beautiful. Like, she was smart. She had a PhD, master's degree. She cared so much about helping people. That was her life's purpose.
Drew and Amie met in 2017.
I felt so hard for her.
And a year later, to mark Valentine's Day, he shared news of their engagement.
My brand new lovely fiance, Amie.
Still, like many Hollywood romances, theirs didn't last, and they broke up and fell out of touch. And then, out of the blue, just 2 days before her death, Amie reached out.
I got a text from her and would love to get together with you and talk. And I said, yeah, I would love to do that. I love you.
Are you sad you never got that chance?
I never got it. I never got a chance to do it.
On the last night of her life, Valentine's Day, Amie was out with friends and took these photos. Not long after, police found Amie lying below her bedroom balcony, fighting to breathe. There were deep marks on her neck, signs that she had been strangled. Inside, blood on a door, and on the balcony, a syringe like this one, containing a liquid that lab tests later revealed to be nicotine, which can be a lethal poison. Amie died on February 15th at 3:26 a.m. Amie's friend, Robert Koshland.
I would say it was like the sun was ripped from the sky.
Koshland reached out to Drew Carey.
And I just started crying, really bad.
Koshland says he instantly knew who might have done this to Amie, an ex-boyfriend, Gareth Pursehouse, whom Amie had reported for assaulting her before they broke up in 2012. She feared he was stalking her.
She literally said, if anything ever happens to me, it's Gareth.
Purshouse's DNA was found on Amie's fingernails and in her home. He was charged with her murder. Pursehouse has pleaded not guilty. Drew Carey says he's grateful for that last text exchange with Amie.
And she did love you, because that's
She
what
did.
I've heard.
And that's
She
the
did love
only,
you.
that's the big solace I get from it, is that she loved me, and I'm glad I could get that message to her before she died.
And Eric,
Oof. Yeah. So, hi, Rose Petal. Hi, Mark. I think I've said Mark. I'm just checking that I haven't missed anyone. Yeah. So basically, it was 10 years since you'd gone out with this guy. 10 years. Have you been watching the court case? Yeah. So the reason that this is in the news at the moment, and it reminded me, but somebody, as I say, did bring it up to me about 6 months ago, but it's in the news at the moment because the trial of the guy has just started. So this guy, I mean, 10 years. I mean, I was thinking about it, I was thinking, I know this sounds awful, but any of you who've sort of been watching my channel and you know that I had an ex who was a stalker. And when I was watching it, I was actually relieved, because in the end, he actually deleted himself. I felt relieved at the time in a way. And now when I thought, imagine having 10 years of going through that feeling that you were being stalked. So what had happened when she went out with Gareth, many times she actually took out restraining orders against him. Many times she said he'd strangled her, he'd assaulted her. You know, she reported him to the police many times. But bearing in mind, this was quite a long time ago. And apparently the last restraining order she had against him had just expired the day before she was murdered. So, yeah, there was, I think you can watch, Desi, I think you can watch the trial on YouTube, I think. Is that what you were watching? There's like different channels on YouTube, like court channels that you can watch it on. Now, so let me just talk about then what happened. So her and him, Gareth, they started dating in 2011. But after only a year, so they only had a year's relationship, she ended the relationship and she filed a protective order against him. And she claimed that he physically and emotionally abused her. She cut off all the communications and everything was okay. But this seems to have come to a head when nearly 8 years later, they bumped into each other. They bumped into each other like I think it was like a kind of an award ceremony, an event anyway. It was like a red carpet event, but it was to do, he had been hired as a photographer because he was a photographer, and it was to do with like the sex industry, if you like. So that's why she was there. He, you know, tried to sort of make advances towards her, and she cut off all communication with him, etc. And that's what made him angry again after all these years. So what we're going to look at now is actually her friend in court saying what happened that night at the event. Oh, that's right. Just what Jack is saying there. The judge has not allowed it to be relayed live. So when you watch them on YouTube, they're a day, the court case, you can watch it on YouTube, but it's a day later. The judge has ruled it can't be, it can be filmed, but it can't be filmed live. So what you see on these court channels is a day later. Okay, so let's have a look at what her friend had to say. This is what brought it on. So she hadn't seen him for all that time, and then suddenly at this award ceremony thing, they bumped into each other.
And how long were you at the bar area before something happened?
Approximately 10 minutes into me waiting in line at the bar, I received 2 phone calls from a friend.
What's the name of this friend?
I'm sorry?
What's the name of the friend?
Ashley Jemison.
Can you spell that?
I'm just going to fast forward it to the bit when he says what actually happened.
Way to give them their space, and went back to the line, and then she came over about 2 minutes later.
And before she came over 2 minutes later, approximately how long had she been talking to the defendant before that?
About 45 minutes.
And how would you describe her demeanor once she left the defendant and met up with you?
Totally changed.
What does that mean?
She went from initially coming into the show excited, talkative, enthusiastic, full of energy, as we all typically know her if you're in her life. And when she walked up to me, she was almost like a ghost. She was very stoic. I keep thinking back to the word that felt right, and it feels like she was on autopilot. She was just coasting and moving through the motions of walking and taking pictures and talking, but
Objection, narration at this point, Your Honor.
That'll stand. Counsel, your next question.
Yes. Was she able to take pictures on the right part?
she did, yes.
Looking here at people's photograph D.
Now,
Continuing their
let's see.
conversation.
How would you describe Amie Harwick's demeanor
This
during
is
that
quite
conversation?
long, so don't want to play all
Everyone
of it.
had to go through the escalator.
And so now you're seated, watching Dr. Harwick and the defendant talk.
So apparently he shouted at her, "You ruined my life, you bitch." He was shouting at her. When this guy came up, he calmed down and tried to sort of appear more normal. But anyway, afterwards, him and Amie, the guy, the friend, they went to a diner and talked, and she was scared.
Yes.
And how long does that go?
Probably for another 20 minutes.
So you're able to see her.
Yes.
And after 20 minutes, what happens?
Nobody was left. The cleaning crew was.
Did you make it to that part?
Yes, we.
But
So we decided to go to a diner to talk.
And before leaving the parking lot to go to the diner, then
So they went to a diner to talk. I want to get to the bit where he says what they talked about.
Approximately 12:30 regarding this ex.
and did she tell you that whether anything from that particular night caused her fear?
Because she had shared that they had not spoken for a number of years, this brought up a wave of fear. And a big part.
Let me stop you there. Did she indicate to you whether she was going to take any precautions as a result of having this fear?
A big part of our conversation was how to protect yourself
Can you
from.
tell the jury what you and her discussed about her protecting herself?
We discussed boundaries and a safety plan. And within that safety plan, we discussed having someone reinforce her locks, both on her doors and windows. We discussed her getting mace or pepper spray. We discussed her getting a taser, and also the possibility of her purchasing a gun for protection.
So she expressed to you that she felt those things.
So that's how scared she was after she'd bumped into this idiot at the just by coincidence. Hi Saskia, how are you feeling today? You feeling a bit better, hopefully. So yeah, so she talked to him. Oh, sorry. She talked to her friend about taking out all these security precautions. Now, and she took them all out. I mean, the other thing, because all the things that irritate me about this case especially, but another thing that irritates me is she did everything she could You know, she had all the security precautions. She'd spoken to the police. She'd spoken to her friends. And he still managed to break into a house and murder her. You know, if you're not safe in your own home, where are you safe? You know, this guy, after 8-9 years, just appears out the blue again and puts, you know, murders her. I mean, my God, it just makes me angry. Anyway, so let me tell you what he did. So he broke into a house. And well, let's go back to, so that after that event where he bumped into her after all this time, he texted her. And he tried to sort of, you know, arrange to meet her, make some contact with her. And she turned round to him and said, no, you know, our relationship is over, in a nice way, I think. She tried to say it in a nice way. Sometimes I think you can be too nice. Because I remember that with my ex-partner. You should just tell them to fuck off. No, you don't want to see him anymore. Because the nicer you try and be to them, they just take that as a sign that maybe, you know, maybe you will want to see him. Anyway, he kept trying to push it. So she refused. And she said to him, you know, that the what had happened at that event after all those years, that was all she needed to let her know that she'd made the right decision in cutting off contact with him. So again, probably trying to say, oh, I think this is the text, but I don't know if we can, don't know that you can't see it very well, but the text is there. But anyway, so there were several others of his texts and phone calls that were presented at the court, and a voicemail where he was crying and whinging, and it showed that he insisted on seeing her and talking to her. So she was scared, so she blocked his number, and she even got new locks on her windows. She had security cameras installed, and she even made a diary entry saying how scared she was after seeing him. She called him obsessive and scary. She said to her friends that if anything happened to her, it would be him. So she said this. She said, I think it was really good. This is the message that she said to him. I think it was really good that we were able to speak last night. I'm sure there's more that you want to process and say to me. See, she's trying to be the therapist. She's trying to be the nice person. But I think there was a lot. It was a lot for both of us. I hope you were able to hear me last night when I said I was sorry for anything that had caused you suffering, and that I forgive you for all the things you did to me. I think right now it's best to have some space. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, for fuck's sake, she couldn't say it any nicer, any more nicely, could she? She's trying to be nice. The past is sad and triggering for both of us. I think we ended our talk last night well. We can be civil from a distance, respect each other, and move forward with our lives. God, I bet she really thought about that. You know, about that text that she sent, and he's taken, and then she blocked him in the end. Anyway, so it was a very tense, very anxious, and very fearful night for her in many respects. She went for a fun night out. So on the night of Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, she went for a fun night out with some girlfriends, and she had returned a text from her best friend when she got home around 1 a.m. about a restaurant that he wanted to try in Scotland. They were going on a trip to Scotland in the following April. And she responded, right, oh, wow, that looks great. And within 10 minutes, she was dead. So when the investigators arrived at her home, they found, this is what they found. They found blood all over the place, all over the doors, a blood stain on the floor, DNA collected from under her fingernails. They also found a syringe at the crime scene, which was filled with nicotine. They thought it was filled with heroin at first, but it wasn't. It was a lethal dose of nicotine, and he had taken that there to her apartment because they found a similar syringe in his apartment. And so it was like he had plans. He was planning to inject her with the nicotine to kill her. That seems to me that was it. Anyway, so according to the detectives, this is what the detectives say. He got inside. How he got inside her home, I don't know, when she had all those security precautions. He got inside her home, he strangled her, he dragged her to the 3rd floor balcony and threw her over the ledge. Her pelvis was shattered and she sustained brain and liver damage, and she died the next day just after 3 a.m. Bless her. Okay, so what's his defense? Because he's pleading not guilty. So his defense is he's saying that yes, he did break in. Yes, he did do whatever. But she jumped over the balcony. He did not throw her over the balcony. That's his defense. Literally, his defense was that she threw herself over the balcony because she was scared of him. What sort of a defense is that? To me, that even if that in the remotest possibility had happened, it's still his fault as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, so that's what happened to her. Now, what I want to look at now is I've got a video of her brother speaking. That was the Drew Carey one. So, oh, where's the video of the brother? I've lost it. I'll have to get it. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, so this is her brother. So he's talking about the case. So again, these are we've talked many times, haven't we? All the victims in these cases. The victims are not just the actual victims. The victims are the families of the victims as well. And of course, his family. I mean, I don't know his mum or his dad or his family, you know, the actual perpetrator. So everybody... It just always never ceases to amaze me. You have the perpetrator themselves just denying everything and, you know, denying responsibility. And then whenever you see people interviewing the wider family, either of the perpetrator or of the victim, everybody feels guilty for whatever reason. You know, maybe the family of the victim feel guilty they didn't protect them enough. The family of the actual person who did it, they feel guilty because they've given birth to him or you know, created his life or not seen the sign. Everybody feels guilty except him. He sat there in that courtroom saying that he's innocent. Of course he's not innocent. I mean, the evidence is pretty overwhelming. Okay, let's have a look at her brother talking. Bless him. Hi, Stuart. Okay.
On to talk to us a little bit more about this.
Of course, I really appreciate you guys having me.
I want to start off just to get a little bit better understanding about your sister, who she was and what she was like.
So I guess for what the family kind of wants to convey about my sister, growing up, you know, Amie was just like any other, you know, teenage girl. She liked hanging out with friends, going to parties, and her and I had, I would call it, you know, a pretty normal brother and sister relationship. We had our ups and downs, you know, brothers and sisters fight. We would try to hang out as much as we could. We would go to concerts together, and you know, just have a lot of fun that way. In 2001, when she moved out to California, she was very excited to do that and start her life out there. She was married to a guy in a band. He was a great guy, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out. and she decided to stay out there and pursue her career and her schooling. And Amie was very career driven. She knew what she wanted to do. She, went to school, got her master's degree, and then eventually got her doctorate in psychology and family and sex therapy. And she wrote a book. She was probably one of the most career driven people I've ever met. She loved to help people. That was her goal in life, was to be a good person and to be there for anybody that reached their hand out for help. Unfortunately, I think she was in her prime. She had a great career going. Her life was moving in the right direction, and tragically, it was cut short.
Now, as you can see from those photos that they showed there, I mean, she really is absolutely stunning, wasn't she? I mean, like just very natural beauty as well, I think. I know she wore a lot of makeup and that, but it didn't look as if she'd had any sort of cosmetic surgery or anything. Very, very beautiful woman. Now, I'm not going to play the whole thing of this because you can find it on the internet, but it's nearly 30 minutes long, so it's too long for us to sit and listen to all of it. But I'm going to go to the now, because what I want to say about her brother, he's in the forces. Well, whether he's still in the forces, I don't know, but he was in the forces. He holds himself together so well all through this interview. He's obviously been nominated as sort of making comments about Amie, but because obviously it'd be difficult, and he says it's difficult for his parents, etc. He goes on to say that in his eyes the guy is responsible. Gareth is definitely responsible. He is no doubt in his mind that he is responsible for Amie's murder. But I just want to go to the end.
Kind of do the best you can to move on with your life, and
because they're always so dignified, the families, aren't they? This is what I love. When you see them, you've got that idiot like sitting in the court and trying to pretend he didn't do anything. He's not guilty, and then the families are dignified, and what he has to say in a moment about law enforcement, how grateful he was for the treatment that he received from the police. It's so dignified, and so you just think how, because you can't imagine how this would feel, can you? If one of you, it's bad enough to lose a family member, but to lose them to murder, to lose them so young as that as well, and you just can't imagine how that'll feel and how angry you would be with the other person. But he's so dignified but then anyway, let's just watch it. I'll just get to the right point.
Your normal daily things that you got to do, but it's always there, and there hasn't been any closure. I can't say that it's been very easy, because it definitely hasn't. And
sorry, I just want to say, so you can see he's holding it together, but it gets to a point at the end where he just can't hold it together. Bless him.
I think it'll be good for this trial to end, and we get some type of verdict, and then we get some type of closure, so we can maybe close this chapter, and then move on to the next. It's been tough for my parents. They've been pretty strong through all of this. They've gone out there numerous times and sat through, a couple court hearings, and all the stuff that they've had to do with, closing down, parts of her life, and interacting with her friends and hearing all these stories, and then it's like every time.
See, that's interesting what he says about closing down parts of her life. Yeah, because somebody's got to sort all that out, haven't they? The house, her things, if she had any pets or whatever. Somebody's got to do all those nuts and bolts things. How difficult is that? I mean, you know how difficult it is when you sort of lose a family member, like an elderly relative or whatever, and maybe if it's your parents, you have to go and sort that house out, or, you know, that's difficult enough. But in a case like this,
you know, another court hearing happens or something else happens, it brings back all those feelings again. And, you know, it'll just be good for not only my parents and me, but, you know, for the rest of my family and her friends to finally get some type of ending to this chapter. And, you know, whatever the jury decides, you know, hopefully it's in our favor. We don't want to think about, you know, the other option.
oh my God,
But,
I bet they don't.
you know, it's been tough the past, you know, 3.5 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll just say I'm wishing you guys all the best. My heart goes out to you. And I know, again, this is an incredibly difficult time. I really do appreciate you coming on to speak a little bit more about your sister and a little bit more about what we can expect. So Christopher Harwick, thank you for taking the time. And again, sending my best to you and the family.
Sure. If I could just add like one more thing.
Absolutely.
The police department that is in our area, I really want to say that they were extremely professional when the incident happened. A lot of people, I don't think a lot of people know this, but you know, when it happened and the LA, you know, the Los Angeles Police Department reached out to my the police department where my parents live. They went to their house and they weren't home because they were, you know, at my house watching our kids. So they immediately went to the next of kin, which was me, and they contacted the police department, you know, that is in my area, and they came to our house. And this was, like I said, when my wife's daughter was texting her that the police were there. The officer that came out, I can't remember his name, but he was extremely professional. You know, after you know, when he knocked on the door, my wife's daughter answered, and then my mom was like right behind my wife's daughter, and the officer was like, "Hey, you know, do you know Chris Harwick?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "I need to tell him something." You know, there was some small talk back and forth, and he says, "Well, I need to let him know that his sister's been murdered." And at that moment, he realized that he was talking to my mom, and my mom saw in his face that that he kind of realized that, like, oh man, like, you know, maybe I should have put two and two together. But he stayed with my parents for a number of hours, you know, after that, trying to, you know, call the Los Angeles Police Department and the detectives. And I think that he went, you know, above and beyond what he, you know, what his job was to do, it because he stayed with them for so long. So,
do you see what I mean? It's like, you know, the policeman's cocked up, really. I mean, not deliberately, but the policeman is cocked up because he's gone to the house and he's turned around to unknowingly, not knowing that he's looking for him, but the mother's there, Amy's mum is there, and the policeman has unwittingly said, "Oh, I need to find Chris because I need to tell him his sister's been murdered," and he's talking to the mother, you know. So, but him, how gracious he is, and then says, "I want to thank the police for how nice they were to my parents and everything." There's just, do you know that it's like you've got this sort of evil of the ex-partner, and then you see the goodness of, you know, it's just, you can't reconcile the two things sometimes. You know, there's so many good people in the world as well. We have to remember that, and we can't let ourselves be overshadowed by evil people. You know, we have to talk about it because we can't pretend it's not happening. You know, we have to be aware of these things. And we have to remember people like Amie and not let this bastard get away with it. You know, at the end of the day, we have to know, everybody has to know what sort of a man he is. But I just thought, you know, how he held it together all the way through that interview. If you, as I say, it is the whole interview is on the internet on YouTube, and if you want to watch it, and you know, he talks about his relationship with Amie, etc. But then at the end, he just sort of cracks up because of how he found out, you know. And it's not an easy job for the police, is it, to go and tell people things like that? You know, it's I don't know. So God, I mean, he must have kicked himself. But then, so he respects the fact that the policeman stayed there and talked to his mum for all that time. He says he went above and beyond, you know, by trying to sort of comfort her and everything, and make right the fact that he did put his foot in it at the end of the day. Oh, I know it all seems worse when it's a man crying, doesn't it? But especially someone like him, because you can tell he's been holding it together. Oh, look. Riley's going to give me a cuddle. You see that I was upset. Oh, bless, because you always make me feel better, don't you? There's Riley. You see, he really, what are you doing? I've got no food. He's sniffing the desk. There's no food on it. Okay, so get down. So let's have a look. What did I have another interview to show? I don't think I've got another. Oh, I want to show. She's just so. Look at this photo. I mean, it's not because you know it would. So my issue as well then is she not allowed to be beautiful? You know, I mean, to be beautiful, to be. Look at this bit. I love this picture with the snow coming down here and everything. You know, is it because, you know, she was trying to be independent, you know, living on her own, you know, just not hurting anyone, doing it, in fact, helping people. And because she was living on her own, I think there was a housemate there, but it was quite a big house. And it was the housemate, apparently, that startled him. And that's why he threw her off the balcony, because he didn't get a chance to actually inject her with the nicotine, also because she probably put up a really good fight, because that's why she had his DNA under her fingernails. So I can't, surely he's not going to get away with this, please. He just cannot get away with this. It's just not fair. It's just not fair if he does. But anyway, we'll see. I'll keep you posted on how it goes. But yeah, I just thought, you know, was she not allowed to sort of be a sex therapist and be a beautiful woman and what have you? And does that mean, you know, she had to put up with being stalked and she was trying to be nice to him? She should have just rang the police, told him to fuck right off. And instead, she's sending him nice texts and trying to be nice. And what was the reward she got from that? The reward she got from that was he just came and murdered her on Valentine's Day. Anyway, yeah, I know, Riley. Yeah, might have done, because it's funny how he came up then, so maybe he knew that I was a little bit upset. Sometimes he comes up because he thinks, oh, you must be nearly finished now, go and get me a treat. But yeah, David, he should have. You know, if the policeman looked back on that, he would think I should have said, "Oh, who are you?" You know, what? You know, instead of just assuming they didn't have a relationship, he should have asked that. But anyway, he didn't, and that's all there is to it. But he's very magnanimous, the brother, isn't he? And just, you know, not criticising him for that. In fact, the opposite, actually saying how he appreciated, you know, how nice he was. I hope so. Look, surely. I mean, it may, as the trial goes on, depending on what evidence comes out, you know, what sometimes happens is, well, there's a couple of things that might happen in American law, isn't there? They can just decide that the evidence is so strong against them that they change their plea. He might change his plea to guilty. The other thing is he can do the Alfred plea, which is where they don't plead guilty, but they admit that there's enough evidence. It's a really weird plea, isn't it? They say, what is it, that they're not guilty of the crime, but they accept or they acknowledge that there's enough evidence to say that they could be guilty. You know, which is really weird, but he might do that, I suppose. The Columbo episode. Is there a Columbo episode with nicotine? I've watched every episode of Columbo about 300 times, so I would have thought I'd remember that, but I don't know. Okay, so let me tell you about I said I had some information about membership. So let me just say that's the story then of Amie Harwick. I'll keep you informed as the trial goes on of the result, etc. And as I say, you can watch it on YouTube. It is being broadcast on YouTube, but it's not live. It's the day the judges decreed that it can't be broadcast live. It has to be the day after. But yeah, so any information I will broadcast. So what I wanted to just say about memberships, and thank you to it. I've got quite a few of you members are members on here. Thank you for that. Now I know it's difficult. Times are difficult, and it's not, you know, not everybody can be a member, and I understand that. I appreciate just what you watching my channel, subscribing to my channel, and that. So that what I'm doing with the memberships is there were 2 levels anyway. I've cancelled 1 level, so there's only the £1.99 level now. So if you do want to join, become a member, it's literally €1.99 a month, and it's cancelable every time. But also what I am going to start doing when I get to 100 members, I am going to gift some memberships. So now I've never done that before, so don't really understand how it works. All I know is if I gift some memberships, though, I don't have any control about who they go to. So if I gifted 5 memberships, for example, what happens is then you get membership for a month, and then after that you decide if you want to keep it up or it just lapses, and you might, you know, I'm not expecting anyone who gets a membership to then carry it on. That's up to you. It's just, you know, the idea of membership for these members' lives that we do on a Tuesday is nice, that we don't have to worry about, especially when we do things about like sensitive cases like Nicola Bully, etc. You know, it's funny, that's the only time that I ever get trolled, is if I do anything about Nicola Bully. I'm going to put out tonight the edited version of our members live on Tuesday. I've edited it. I know that there'll be weird comments on it or whatever. You just know that's going to happen. What is it about that? I don't know why that happens with other cases. I never get trolled. Hi, Rini. And anyway, so what I'm trying to say is, so I cancelled the other membership. So now when I gift some, when I will, but I'm not sure what you have to do if you, I think what YouTube do. So if I gift memberships, I don't have any control over who they go to. That's the only thing. So I can't say, oh, I want such and such, such and such and such and such to have a membership because they watch the most. I don't, YouTube decides that. But I think that's the basis that they do it on. You know what it's like with YouTube, it's controlled by bots, so I have no idea what their criteria is. And I think you have to opt into it. So you have to do that on your side. That might be something you have to look at on your YouTube I think to make sure you've enabled memberships, free memberships. So I'm not sure how that works, but anyway. Yes, don't forget the like button. Yeah, what is it about the Nicola Bulley case? It's just like, why? It's like people seem to just watch just to, have a go, if you like, or just to say, or, the other thing, it makes me wonder, who is it? Is this like Team Paul or Team Emma or Team someone? I've never turned around and said that I think they murdered Nicola. And because I don't know, this is all I always keep saying is I actually have no idea. All I know is something's off. Something's off. I do think there was some domestic violence in that relationship because of the welfare check, because of the bruises. That's a totally separate thing from whether I feel like actually any foul play was involved or not. It's all just off, isn't it? So I don't understand all this anger that people find. Yes, and that's the other interesting thing. There's so many, hi 411, there's so many interesting things. I can't keep up with that. I saw that today. So Ben, what's his second name? I've forgotten his second name. Ben Wallace. He's gone now. So not only has left the cabinet, so he's not the defence secretary anymore, but he's also standing down at the next election when he's been the MP for that area for ages and ages and ages. Yeah, Riley and Rocky area. So what is it? Why is it all so sensitive? But then you've got Mr. Snowman with his. We've got his big report coming up next month, haven't we? Which will be no further action necessary. So you just know. I mean, I say this in the video that's going out later, the edited video. They won't have done anything in these past. It'll take them 9 months to get to a decision. No further action. Few lessons to be learned. You could write it. I could have written it in February. They didn't have to take all these months to do it. The only reason that they've left it so long, it's not because they have loads of investigating to do. It's just because they're hoping that people have forgotten about it or not, and some people will. The thing is, it will have dissipated. There'll be still some people like us who will still be interested in it and still following it, but there'll be loads of people just carrying on their normal life, and it'll just be a distant memory, and that's why they do it. And yes, Stuart, he didn't get the NATO job, but he was never going to get that. The world doesn't like it. One day, Britain are going to wake up. The government is going to wake up and see how unpopular they are all over the world. And Brexit didn't help with that. They've alienated themselves with everybody. They're still swaggering around as if they're like, as if it was the days of the empire and what. I feel just inconsequential. I don't know why they don't understand that. And Brexit was the worst thing because now we haven't even got power in Europe. We haven't even got European power now. We're just like this little country on the edge, and we don't have any influence because Joe Biden's not interested. There's no. That's why Ben didn't get the NATO job. They weren't going to give it to. They weren't going to give it to him, which is a shame because he probably is. He probably was, reasonably effective. Apparently, I think the forces were quite happy with him. They thought he did a lot for them. So, but you've got on the world stage, you've got to appeal to so many people. But yeah, Brexit is a disaster, unfortunately, and people are just realising it, but it's too late. It's just too late. Let me think. What else happened today? Just to update you on. was Rubiales. You know, the kiss gate, it started with a kiss. So his mum was admitted to hospital because his mum was doing a hunger strike. Oh God, it's all they're talking about on Spanish TV. I don't know if you've seen it, Stuart, but all these TV personalities were saying to Rubiales, you go there, get your mother out of that church. Your mother shouldn't be on hunger strike. Go and sort it out. He's just like, I'm not resigning. I'm not resigning. Oh, Rio, yeah, I saw that. I was, no, I didn't like him after that either, because he made, that was a funny sort of incident that it was, I didn't like him, not only because of with Penn Farthing, but because of the way he treated all the Afghan, the way Britain in general dealt with that whole thing. They knew it was going to happen. They had months to plan it. Dominic Raab was on a beach in Greece or Rhodes or somewhere, and he was the foreign secretary at the time. And he didn't answer his emails, and these poor people were queuing up and there was a suicide bomb. So it wasn't only the animals, it was the people. And actually, yeah, they did. They messed the whole thing up. And actually, that plane that Penn Farthing ended up chartering, or somebody chartered for him, there was loads of room on it for people, but they didn't put anybody on it. They just cocked it up from start to finish. So yeah. Yes, and no news of, so all these things we'll wait for news for. No news of Sarah Sharif's father and family. No news on the guy who murdered Rachel Marie. So he's still on the run unless something comes out tonight. I keep expecting that one night I'm going to have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do a live because, well, I hope so, because, there's a press conference to say that they finally caught that guy, because believe me, as soon as I see it, I will be doing a live if I possibly, possibly physically can, I will be doing it one, because I can't wait till he's caught. And these 2 other women disappeared. Well, one's been found dead now, and they're saying there's no connection, but I don't know. Sometimes police say things like that. So, believe me, Rio, as soon as that guy is caught, I will be doing a live. I don't care what. Well, as soon as I know. I mean, if I'm asleep, I won't know. But as soon as, and if I wake up, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and have a look at the news, see what's going on, see what's occurring. And of course, because it's America, it's daytime there, and the time that I see it, I will be up. I will definitely be up. I can't wait. I pray for that day. Do you know, the trouble is, once you start following these stories, you do get invested in them. And I'm just following that and hoping, praying every day, as I'm sure of family are, and I'm sure of half of America are, because it's terrifying to think he's roaming around. David, you check your phone about Sarah, yeah, because unfortunately we can't save Sarah, but you just want them to be brought to justice, don't you? And now, of course, it seems like the social services were a bit remiss, and she was known to the social services. That poor little girl. See, I can't get that picture out of my head of her in all that makeup and everything. As much as I love makeup and that, but those pictures, there's 2 pictures of her. She's so made up, and that she was 10 years old. Yeah, I think the murderer of Rachel Marie, he could be camping somewhere, but I've got. I know, like, if he was, say, he was a Marine or in the forces, and I think it was David said, well, he's compañeros, I want to say, his colleagues would recognise him. But maybe they're off on manoeuvres somewhere as well. Oh, thank you, Saskia. Well, but it's not like work, Saskia, because I enjoy it. You know, it is something that I enjoy doing. Sometimes I have to switch off from it for a bit, but I'm always thinking, oh God, that'll be just typical. The day I think, all right, I'm going to have a day off. I'm not going to look at the news. That'll be the day that it gets caught. I know, 411, all that makeup she had on and dressed to look, it was horrible. Yeah, it could be a trucker, Chumba, and I suppose truckers can sort of disappear and become invisible, can't they? Because I don't know how, obviously it'll be a big story in America, of course it will, because it's reached all across the world, but, I don't know. What else could he's either been, or he could have gone over to Mexico or somewhere. If he's from Mexico, if he's got friends in Mexico, could be hiding out in the woods. That could have been what he was doing in those woods, where he happened upon Rachel Marin. So he might have just moved to different woods. His hair looked a bit. It was his hair that made me think he might be in the armed forces. But I know it's a fashionable haircut anyway. But I still think somebody must, looking at that, I just think somebody must know him. Yeah, David, you're right. The world is a small place. Oh, well, I'm doing a Friday live tomorrow. I haven't quite decided. I've got some, what I think are really interesting things to talk about. But anyway, I'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, sometimes you have to switch off, Jackie, but I am interested in all these things. It's not like I'm forcing myself to look at the news or whatever. I've always been a bit of a news junkie, to be honest, so I always put that some cases get you more than others, don't they? There's always things going on. Which actually just makes me think, while I'm on here, I'm going to just have a little look, just in case. What day is it today? Thursday, so it's Friday Night Live tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be doing a Friday Night Live tomorrow. There was something else that... There was something else that I was looking at. Oh yeah, something that I noticed today. Now I don't know why is the news so London centric? Because all over the news all the time it's all going on about this ULEZ thing in London or whatever. And I think, well, really that only affects people in London, doesn't it? Why is it such a big thing? It's not really national news, is it? I know London's the capital, but, they're going on about this ULEZ, this congestion charging. Well, I'll tell you what, in Spain, they're already doing that. You're not allowed to take your car if it's over a certain age. If your car's over a certain age, you're not allowed to take it into any city. It depends on the population of the city or town. So, not my little village, you can say any old banger, you can drive around my little village, but just to go up the road to go into the nearest sort of town, you can't. If it's over 10 years old, you can't take it in there. So I don't understand all the big fuss about it because they're trying to actually save people's lives. But the other thing is I don't understand why something that's happening in London is national news, because it only affects people in London. As somebody made a comment on one of my something that I did about politics or whatever on one of the videos, and they said, oh well, it's Sadiq Khan's fault because he's useless. And it was nothing to do with London. You know, I think people don't realise that Sadiq Khan is the mayor of London. He can only have anything to do with anything in London. He has absolutely no control whatsoever over anything over the... So anything that happens in Lancaster, because it was something to do with the Nicola Bulley case, and this woman came on and said, oh, well, I blame Sadiq Khan because he's really the worst of the worst. And it was like, well, you know, he's the mayor of London. It's got nothing to do with what's happening in Lancashire. But anyway, strange, isn't it? It just shows you the perception in the news. Yeah, that's where the money is, David. That's where the money is. But, you know, does it really affect you? You know, what's happening in London with this ULEZ, whatever, it doesn't affect people in Scotland. It doesn't affect people in the north. But, and then it comes on the news, and then people, it's as if he's the Prime Minister. He's not the Prime Minister. He's the Mayor of London, so he only has an influence on what happens in London. So it's very strange. The mainstream media is very strange. And the more you realise that, the more you notice it, you know. Yes, I remember someone from Reading thinking I was from Newcastle. Once they came into the betting shop where I was working and said to me, oh, your team's playing tonight. And I said, what, my team? And said, yes, Newcastle. I said, I'm not from Newcastle, I'm from Manchester. Oh, dear. The Constance Martin case. Oh, yeah, very strange. That was, but you never get we don't seem to get the follow-ups to these cases a lot of the time. I don't know what happened there, Renee, in the end. Have they been to trial yet? Or, you know, that was a very strange thing, wasn't it? Very strange. That Constance Martin and her boyfriend and the baby. Oh dear, horrible, horrible. It was horrible. But yeah. Stuart, the City draw. What is, have they, I've not been following. You know, it's funny, we talked about the other day, the start of the season, I'm terrible, I hardly follow it. It's only after Christmas that I start really following it, because of course that's when it starts to get like important, if you like, or to get crucial. But have we drawn? CL. No, don't give me initials. You know I don't know initials. CL, what's CL? CL. I can't. I'm just rubbish with initials. CL. Ciudad something? I don't know. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow. So remember to live and love very carefully. Yeah, I don't think anything's come of it yet, Renee. I haven't heard anything since they were arrested, really. Since they were found and arrested, I haven't heard anything. Okay. Leipzig Young Boys Red Star. Don't know. Okay. Oh, God bless you. Listen, Saskia, good luck tomorrow. Are you still going back to the hospital tomorrow? Good luck. I hope you're feeling okay. Hope it goes all okay. A special kiss for Saskia. Champions League. Yeah, you see, you can't give me initials because I don't understand them. Hasta luego. Hasta mañana. So I'll definitely be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here with me again. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to live and love carefully. We'll follow this case and hope Amie gets the justice that she deserves. And until I see you again, may your God go with you. Thank you. Night, night. Or there will be a video going out later, but it's just the edited members live from Tuesday night. Adios.